Welcome everybody to the Beauty and The Mercenary show. I am AJ and we will be doing things a little bit differently the next few episodes. So what we're going to do first is talk about this incredible weed that I'm smoking right now. It's called Purple Kush. And it's just amazing. It's a great indica. It's great before bedtime or if you need to relax or do a nice mellow podcast and not blast everybody's ears out from being too excited and ranting and raving this time. We're going to take things a little bit slow today. So, first subject here is our new news. First thing we'll cover is Marilyn's going to be out for a little bit, taking care of herself and getting her health in line. So we wish her the best while she's got that going on. Second thing is that is new is we've started doing the book tour and everything's been selling great. We will be here, Auburn, California at Winston Smith Books on the 5th of April, followed by here in Sac on May 11th at J. Crawford Books. I hope you guys come out, check those out. It's going to be fun. I'll be doing reading from different parts of the book, answering some Q&As, little meet and greet to where we mingle. And then I will do the book signing and talk to everybody individually. So those are the two Northern California ones. We got a Barnes & Noble in Sacramento, Albuquerque, Houston, Harvey, Louisiana, Jacksonville, Florida, Coral Gables, Atlanta, Georgia, New York, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Arkansas, and a couple smaller cities so I could see my sister Mel. We're doing a book signing over there, a little small thing, just so we could see family. And we'll be headed to back to New York. Then we have Vancouver, Washington, and we will wrap up with some more cities later, but that's just the cities until June 22nd, it looks like. So check out the website and keep in touch that way. Any questions, you guys know how to reach me on Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you guys know my messages get fed to me, so it'll take a day or two for me to actually get it, but I will respond and get on there. The next big thing, and this is huge, it's a big leap in my career. We all know I haven't been doing this book thing for very long, and it's been a pretty wild ride so far, and just the crazy things I've been able to do, and just the amazing people I've met. But I came into contact with a person a few days ago, and we hashed some things out and worked out a deal to where I actually have a manager slash agent now who will be doing all my bookings and appearances and speeches and, you know, being a manager, doing everything for me. So it's a big step that I went from being able to do this on my own to actually needing to sign with an agent, you know. We talked and the deal was just too good to pass up, so we shook hands on a deal. So big thank you to L. Wilson of L. Wilson Management for taking a chance on a nobody. So big things to come with that. So this first part is over. I am going to spark this blunt again because it is out. We'll take a quick commercial break and we will be back with you in just a second. How's it going, everybody? Are you tired of bad credit? Because I know I am. We joined up with Classic Credit Solutions. They've been helping people for almost 20 years, and a good friend of mine, Lacey, works for them and is doing an amazing job with our credit. Check them out at classiccreditsolutions.com or give her a ring at 512-620-0573. Alright, welcome back. So, this is a little bit of a sensitive subject here. I wanted to get into different forms of abuse and kind of how to spot it, what to look for, different signs, symptoms, stretching from either physical abuse or sexual abuse, kind of what to look for. Because there's more than just physical abuse. There's many forms. You got child neglect, you got sexual, emotional. We've added medical, like Munchausen syndrome or foster parents making their kids lie about being sick so they could get meds and stuff like that. So there's different forms. The biggest symptoms to look for, like in kids when it comes to abuse, is to look for like withdrawal from friends and just normal stuff that they do. You want to look for changes in behavior, a lot of anger, hostility, hyperactivity. Are they doing bad in school all of a sudden? Those sort of things you need to really look out for. A lot of depression, anxiety, a lot of fear. Their confidence is going to take a hit, and they're just going to always be sad, feel lost, like they've always just lost something. There's no supervision. A lot of absences from school. They're always way too excited to go on school activities, and they don't want to go home. So, kids that normally don't want to leave a school activity, there's something going on at home. So that's also a big red flag. Rebellious or defiant behavior, self-harm, suicide attempts, running away multiple times, and just starting to cause problems. Those are, like the physical abuse. Sexual abuse, there's a little bit more to it. If they start showing sexual behavior or more knowledge of sexual activity that a child should, then that's a big red flag. Also, if they become pregnant or if they get an STD, it's if you send your kid to daycare, stuff like that. I mean, I'm a sexually abused child, so I'm familiar with what to look for, and I know what I used to hide, and so I mean, it's not the best feeling in the world to have to check your kid's underwear. But if you suspect things or anything, don't hesitate to check the underwear for blood, stuff like that. If they've gone to a camp or they start withdrawing and you start seeing these signs, it's uncomfortable, but it's something that you got to do. If they make even statements that they were abused sexually, look into it. Or if they start showing any sort of inappropriate sexual contact with other people, kids, teachers, whoever that's around them, that's a big one to look into. Now, emotional abuse is a little bit difficult. You need to look more for the lack of self-esteem and confidence, withdrawal from everybody, no enthusiasm, depression. But the biggest one and hardest one to kind of pin is what they call a delayed or inappropriate emotional development. Now, if you're, it's an immaturity is what you're looking for, basically. So to break it down, you're looking for the immature kid. You're looking for just not caught up to where they should be, or they are way too depressed for where they should be. And it's not happy emotion. So you're not looking for, inappropriate emotional happiness or joy. So, it's the extremes that you're looking for when it comes to that. Any sort of avoidance to certain situations, school, bus rides, going to church, camp, after school, the Y, whatever sort of programs that they have. Shit, it could be even the Cub Scouts for all we know. You never know. So you just gotta, keep your eye out. Check out for, the school performance dipping again. Lack of interest in even going to school. Also look for, like, if they're good at something and all of a sudden they're crap. That is a big thing too. When I started getting abused, my baseball went to crap. My football went to crap. I quit. Like, I didn't even care anymore. So there's a lot of things to look for, and those are the big ones. So if there's like some acquired developmental skills that they've been good at and all of a sudden they're not, then you're probably looking at some sort of emotional abuse. Neglect is also a big one, because this is just, it's such poor for health and everything. The biggest one is going to be poor hygiene. Then there's poor growth, extreme weight gain, or extreme weight loss. They wear the same clothes. They're just, their supplies aren't, and for their needs physically aren't being met. They take food or money without permission, or they're hiding food for later. Again, this is something where obviously their school's going to take a hit. And they definitely will need some proper attention. Now, the red flags to look for, like in people or parents who might be abusing kids or somebody, is, they just show like they don't give a shit about the kid. They don't, like, if their kid's calling them, they don't recognize that their kid's like in trouble or in distress. They're always going to blame the kid for shit. They'll constantly belittle them, just berate the child, negative things, and like you're worthless or evil, a piece of shit, If they get, it's a thin line when it comes to physical discipline. I got my ass whooped way too many times. I'm not big on spanking. My way of thinking on disciplinary stuff with kids has changed over the years. It seems the more kids I had, the more I realized, like, you can't spank. It just doesn't work anymore. So you got to figure out who your kid is and troubleshoot them, because if you don't, you're fucked. So, like, don't hit them. It's be the parent to your kid, because there's only one. What worked for you or didn't work for you isn't going to work for your kid. And you know what worked and you know what didn't work. So don't try to push that shit on your kids. Customize something for their discipline that meets their needs. Not yours. Yeah, you may feel better by whooping their ass, but guess what? Now you got $20,000 a year psychiatrist bills. So congratulations. Figure your kids out. Don't beat them. They don't need that shit. So there are always a lot of risk to intervening. There's also a risk to let someone go who has been abused. So we want to try to get away from these factors of somebody who's been abused. Most of these, unfortunately, I've had all these risks. I've been that risk. I've been the goddamn statistic of these things. So, hopefully you won't. But the biggest thing for abused children or kids, teens, to grow up, and they're going to be into drugs and alcohol and other different substances. Their understanding of, certain developmental and parenting skills aren't going to be there. Um, Social isolation and family isolation happens. Financial stressors, unemployment, poverty, which means basically you're broke as fuck, you're stressing out because you're broke, but you're doing too many drugs and drinking to really even give a shit, so that band-aid is covering everything. Well, guess what? Now you're fucking homeless, physically disabled, and nobody cares because you pissed away your life. So congratulations, you ended up where I did. There'll be a lot more family crises, more stress. We're talking DVs, domestic violence, DUIs, marital conflicts, more single parenting. There's going to be more physical and mental illness in these peoples. A lot of PTSD, depression, more variations of mental illness that break off into bipolar disorders, to being a paranoid schizophrenic. A lot of these things will really mess with the kid's head later on in life. Now, if you think somebody might be getting abused and you want to prevent it, you can give 1-800-CHILDREN a call. That's 1-800-244-5357. Or if you know of somebody who is being abused, of course, call 911, call CPS, do whatever you can. But there's also a Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline. So it's pretty much a child helpline, but I mean, anybody could call this damn number and give an anonymous tip. These are the two best numbers to call that I have found. So it's 1-800-4A-CHILD. That's 1-800-422-4453. All right, well, let's wrap up this amazing topic. I hope you guys learned something, and keep a close eye out, man. These kids are getting screwed with way too much these days, so we got to protect them. We are going to get into my favorite topic here, and it's one of the most controversial, I think, when it comes to my story personally, and it's the controversy between being in Narcotics Anonymous or Alcohol Anonymous while being on medical marijuana. So there was a time when I had to fight cancer twice, valley fever, drug abuse, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, diabetic neuropathy, anxiety, depression, paranoia, visual and audio hallucinations, flashbacks, all with the PTSD. And I was on 23 medications. Now, after years of alcohol and drug abuse and not taking care of myself and just beating myself up, and just with health and just the pill abuse and everything that they shove down your throat for pain meds and everything, destroy your body. So I got to a point where I couldn't even take a Tylenol or an aspirin without getting severely sick. So medications became bad. It was hurting me more. So I had to make the decision after a couple years of being sober, and I had one big mistake one night over a year ago that I slipped. So I screwed that up, but I've been sober since then. But it's about just being responsible and doing things the right way. You got to think about it first. So you got to know yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself. So if you're faced with a choice to where you're gonna die if you keep taking medication, or you just don't agree with it, or there are too many side effects and you want to try something else, you really have to think about it, especially if you're a recovering addict. I've had a lot of clean time in between sliding, but with this, I didn't really have a choice. But I went to my sponsor, I went to my sponsor's sponsor. I mean, I went all the way to my great grand sponsor, and it was always, can you handle it? And I didn't know, so I waited and I waited longer and longer, and then finally it was just the pain. I couldn't walk. So I went and I got my cannabis card and went to a club, got some edibles and some flour and tried it out. And it was alright. So I smoked another bowl. The pain pretty much went away. Took it from like a 10 to a 3. PTSD calmed down after, another bowl or two. Everything just kind of came back to being normal. And I finally slept. And it was just a miracle. With further research, there's a lot of different things that we can do for you. And if you use it as a medication with the proper supervision and control and people holding you accountable, you could use this drug as it's supposed to be, as a medicine. So it takes a little bit getting used to if you've never smoked before. So just keep that in mind. Now the controversy is the fact that in AA or NA or any of the A's, you are supposed to be abstinent from all substances and alcohol. Well, marijuana technically is not a drug anymore, but it is still frowned upon in those circles. There's more than half that do not agree with medical marijuana being okay if you're a recovering addict. This pretty much outs the fact that I use medical marijuana and still go to meetings, but there's a responsibility that you have. And if you are using medical marijuana and still going to meetings, you better not be smoking it. If you're going to still be a part of the program, then you have to go sober. If you can't go to a meeting without smoking or being on an edible, I mean, these meetings are 60 minutes to 90 minutes. You're not gonna fucking die. So if that's the case, then you probably should not be smoking weed. If you can't go that long without smoking, then you have a problem. And you should probably just get back on meds. But if you cannot smoke weed or be high, make sure you're sober, go to your meeting, and then get home and medicate. It's not that hard. It's all about control. And it's all about using your mind and knowing that you can conquer anything. The biggest part of drugs in the first place is using it as a band-aid to cover the PTSD or whatever issues that you're trying to mask. So I always say that forgiveness is the key to recovery. And it's not about forgiving the people that hurt you. At first, you could get to those people. But it's forgiving yourself for all the bullshit you fucking caused. Like, think about it. You're a fucking dirtbag. I'm a dirtbag. When I was using, I was a fucking criminal. Straight up. We wrote the game on how to lie, cheat, and steal to get our drugs. So don't try to kid yourself by making yourself think that you can use medical marijuana if you can't handle it. You're just lying to yourself and giving yourself another crutch and another band-aid, and you're not accomplishing anything. So forgive yourself, and recovery is a whole lot easier. And as soon as you take control of your fear, then there is no fear. It becomes irrelevant. It's not even in your dictionary. Now everybody knows being an addict is hard. I know for me it is. I've got someone close to me, not like close to me, but lives in proximity close to me, who's a drug addict and just tweaks me out. I mean, dude, in and out, here in the door all day, all night. Window commander, porch commander. And it drives me crazy, but then I'm thinking, man, he is high. I bet you he doesn't feel a fucking thing. I bet it's great. I love to take a nice fat rail of coke. But I'm human, so I'm gonna have those thoughts. But I look at him and I'm like, fuck, thank God I'm not there anymore. So I get hit with both. It's a double feeling, and it's always gonna be that. I look at the positive and I think back, man, when I was coked out, I had this great time and that great time. Memories are always good, but I always think of, man, that day after that concert, fuck, that sucked. So put yourself in check. You could reminisce about the good times and smile about it and just be glad you lived. But then also be glad that you're living now and actually going to remember it. And not remember the hangover, because you didn't have one. Now, you're going to need a team. Everybody needs a team. I've got Marilyn. I've got tons of friends. Family's kind of a piece of shit, but we don't talk. And you want to keep those people away from you. If you're in recovery, it's very selfish. It's about you. And for the first time, it's okay that it's about you. Because what I've learned in my 37 years is fuck absolutely everybody. Fuck everybody. When you're in your time of need and you need to get yourself right, fuck everybody. You cannot afford to worry about anything of your girlfriend or your friend or your brother, your cousin, your mother, your dad. Doesn't matter if they got a fucking hangnail or they're sick or they got a ticket. Worry about you. Their problems, they'll solve them. They're an adult. They're older than you. They've survived. They'll survive while you're an inpatient. They'll survive while you're an outpatient. They'll survive while you're in your meetings. They'll survive while you do your 3-4 hours of step work. You know which is also important? I mean, get the Bible. You know, and then get the NA book. Or AA, or CA, or SA, or MA, or whatever A you're going to, get that book for that program and work the steps. Because if you don't, you're done. Plain and simple. My first time trying to recover, I made it to step 4. I was like, I'm not telling you what the fuck I did. You're tripping. I'm going to prison. I just got out. You want me to go back by ratting on myself? Fuck you. Here's the thing, you got to trust your sponsor. I didn't trust mine, so I didn't do it. I relapsed. Got a new sponsor. I worked the steps. Yeah, I relapsed after a couple years, but I stopped talking to my sponsor, I stopped working the steps, and I fucked myself, and I used because I fell to peer pressure of a girl. So you need to definitely be selfish and fuck everybody. Get your shit together. Do your 90 meetings in 90 days. Get through that first year so you can get a girlfriend. Because you don't even want a girlfriend in that fucking year. All you're going to do is worry about her shit and sex. And guys, you know that's right. Because once you get laid that first time, it's over. You want it all the time. It's good. It's like home. Or a fresh, warm apple pie. Now, don't go pull an American Pie, anybody. It's not really that kind of feeling, so don't do it. It's just a joke. So, meetings. Where do you go? White chairs. There are different apps that you can get and download. iPhone has better stuff, unfortunately, and I hate the damn iPhone. I got an Android, and the apps off Google Play just aren't really great, and they glitch a lot, so it's kind of shit. So if you have an iPhone, congratulations, you'll get a decent app for NA or AA. But if you have a Samsung or an Android, you got to get it off Google. Good luck, your shit's gonna suck, glitch, and you'll have to update it all the fucking time. Other than that, those apps will guide you through a lot of steps, and they will guide you on your calendar, give you daily messages, as well as tell you where every single meeting is. So there is no excuse that you can't freaking get to one. If I can get to one in New York last week, be in one this week in LA, still come home to SAC and hit a meeting, you can too. It's an example. I'm not saying I did that shit, because it's just a lot of fucking work. I don't travel that much anymore. But if I'm here, I could go to a meeting. If I go to New York next week, I can go to a meeting. The app tells me. So when you travel, go to a meeting. It's always great to see new people. Just be careful. If you don't like to speak and they say, hey, is there anybody here from out of town or new? If you raise your hand, you're going to have to say something. So if you don't want to speak, just keep your mouth shut and sitting back. That's a warning. Nobody warned me the first time I traveled and went to a meeting. I had to fucking talk. And I just got done giving a 3-hour lecture. So, there's your warning. Well, I hope that kind of covers a little bit of the difference of kind of like what I went through versus if I wasn't using the medical marijuana. Actually, real quick, a lot of the things that I take, the best thing I could say, if you're diabetic, have high blood pressure, cholesterol, if you have diabetic neuropathy or any sort of nerve damage causing neuropathy or anything, like neuropathy, CBD, indica strain of marijuana, RSO, all amazing things that I use every single day, 3 times a day to control that. RSO is big. It helps with my cancer treatment. It helps with my valley fever treatment. It helps with my blood pressure and my cholesterol. It helps with my diabetes. I mean, it covers everything. Anxiety, depression, paranoia, flashbacks, hallucinations, everything. You name it, it is the best way to deal with stuff. Now, if you have PTSD or you're a veteran or first responder and you have some sort of itchy qualities at certain times of your day and you need some relief, do not smoke a sativa. Sativa will give you some energy. It's more of a mental stimulant than anything else. So if you want to be a window commander, just smoke some meth. It's probably better for you than a sativa. because if I smoke a sativa, it's all bad. All bad. I'm paranoid. I think the FBI, CIA's at my fucking door. You name it. I think it's outside the door, spying on me. So, be careful. Try an indica first. Maybe try a gummy first if you're going to ease into it. But with PTSD, indica is always better. It's more of a body high anxiety, and for depression, it's very mellow, and it's not going to get you amplified and give you a lot of energy. Well, we will be back here in a bit, and we will wrap up with, I'll talk about the book a little bit. For the last part. Alright, and welcome back. So we're going to get into the book, and the chapter I'm going to talk about is called the Crash and Burn chapter. Check them out on our Instagram. It's two events of my life that I put into one. And jewelry is just for the sake of the story, and I wanted to show more of my creativity, so I kind of plotted it out this way. Just fabulous work. So go ahead, check him out. Show kind of more of the intensity. If it would have happened both, these incidents happened both at the same time, it would have been just probably as devastating as this, or even worse. Now, with the Crash and Burn, it's where Jax he's waiting outside for Shanna to come out and smoke with him. He's been, working on this list. He's been doing a few things. He's been dealing with his girl and her so-called yoga class and all this other type of crap. So, I mean, we're 55 pages into the book, and we're getting to the nitty-gritty. He's about to fucking snap. And a car accident happens, and there's blood everywhere, and he's trying to save this lady, and he can't, and he saves the two kids that were in the back seat. He winds up punching out a driver, and he cracks. He starts seeing a Marine that was in his unit, Coleman. And Coleman is an actual person. His name was not Coleman, due to how he died. It wasn't a lot. I wasn't given permission to talk about it. But we will say that it was tragic. The loss of his wife was even more tragic. Once we had come back. So I was working for a company, and a guy lost his life over there, and his wife found out and wound up committing suicide. That's the extent of what I can say about his nature of his death. It was really bad, and it haunted me for a very, very long time. And in this story about the car crash, I was driving down 101 North in Morgan Hill, and a lady swerved. A car was about to hit her, so she swerved, lost control, went into this ravine that runs alongside the freeway. Now it's a canal, not really a ravine, but it gets pretty deep in some of those areas. It's funny because at this time I was actually on probation for my first case, and I was out shopping, and I still was wearing my ankle bracelet because I had to finish my sentence on house arrest. I wasn't a violent criminal or a drug offense or a sex offense, so they kicked me out early on house arrest, so I got to go home. So while I'm on this, I slam on my brakes, I jump out, I pull her out of the car, I pull the kids out, and I saw just a little bit of blood from her forehead that kind of threw me into a flashback of Coleman. So that happened the first time. The second time, I was actually waiting outside of a Starbucks in San Jose at Oak Ridge Mall. It's right next to this Bank of America. And I was doing something for Shanna. I was out running around, I think, trying to complete the list for her friend's wedding. I'd done a lot one day and it was great, but this day I was just tired, I was hurting, and I snapped. Shanna found me outside of the Starbucks, cowering behind a car in between a fence and a bush, holding my cane, because I had just started learning to walk again. And I was holding my cane like it was my rifle, and I was gone. You know, luckily she was there. I don't really remember how she even found me, but she did. And I just remember being deathly afraid, and I don't remember why. I don't remember what I was seeing, but I remember dealing with Coleman. We were starting to walk away. I realized, I was like, how the fuck are you here? And that's when I kind of realized where I was, and that it was impossible for her to be where I was. So I kind of came to, and I remember seeing Coleman on the ground again, and I just dropped to my knees, and it was like he was really there, and I picked him up and I could feel him. And an hour later, I was in a mental health unit right down the street, where I spent a nice little stretch, and that was like the major hospitalization, because I went in for a while, and like I don't remember the first part of the hospital stay, because I was at it's a really nice place. It's at Santa Clara County Valley Medical Center. The staff there was always really good with me. I was in and out of that place because I was partly homeless at that time and in between marriages, and I was just not right in the head, and I just was being a rolling stone, and you know, I wasn't being a dad. I wasn't doing anything I was supposed to be doing. And that was the breaking point. So, I mean, the chapter is pretty bad. But the reality of the situation is that I wasn't smart enough. My pride, ego got in the way, to where when this accident happened, I was actually married to Ivory at the time. So there's quite a few years in between the first incident and the second. So we're looking at 2012 to 2016 when this happened. So that's 4 years in between, and that's 4 years more of drug abuse and suffering and putting myself through more than I should have. So the moral of this story basically is to not procrastinate. I mean, I know in the book, Jax was smart, and he got help that day. Like, he didn't put it off anymore, he went. But I wasn't that smart. When we get in, like, I'm really excited for you guys to read book 2. I know book just 1 came out, but part 1, I wanted to just have you guys build a love for somebody who has some flaws and that isn't perfect, but desperately tries. And I wanted you to see the softer side of somebody who's had to kill people and do bad things, and you know, do bad things for the right reasons. But then also, you know, in book 2, we're going to get into a prison term. We're going to talk about addiction and PTSD in the second book. That's going to be the main focus of book 2, is what happened. But the hope that's in this book, it's called it's The Wars Within Part 2, Learning to Walk by Faith. It's going to be about finding God and how to build that relationship. Now, I'm not going to Bible thump this, into the ground and be quoting scriptures in this book. I'm still going to be the same dude, the same writer. He's going to be the same character. But you're going to see my relationship with God, what works for me, and how I live my life and how I interpret the Bible. Now, this in no way, shape, or form is 100% correct. The church will not acknowledge probably the way I think. For one, I don't have a problem with gay people. In fact, I love them. There is no greater friend to me than one of my gay buddies, because they tell me how it is, plus they never let me leave the house looking like a fucking idiot, and I match. They're respectful, they're sensitive, great advice, and they know how to love. So, you can't really fucking knock that. It's just, stop fucking labeling it. So that's just one. Medical marijuana. Not all churches recognize that as a medicine. So I get frowned on upon that. I'm also divorced 3 times, not just once or twice, but 3. I'm an overachiever, so give me a break. I like to go above and beyond. But what really needs to be fully looked into in this whole entire thing is to see past all the bullshit and all the hypocritical shit and all the judgmental people. For me, I do not believe that I have to go to church to be a good Christian. I don't believe that I have to give 10% of my money to a church just so they could have a new roof and do cool shit and make $100,000 a year. That doesn't strengthen my relationship with God. And that's just me. Would I make a donation to a church? Yes, I've done many donations to churches so they can keep up and people can keep their house. But I refuse to do it because you tell me that God's gonna slap me on the back and tell me good job and it's for my savings account in heaven and all this other BS. No, man, we don't. If we have bank accounts and shit in heaven, then fucking just send me to hell, because there is no way that I'm gonna do all this accounting in my life and for all my companies just to do more math in heaven. You're full of shit. There's no bank accounts in heaven. Good deeds, those get stored. Bad deeds, they also get stored. Well, make sure you have a positive account with those good deeds. That's about the only thing that's going to save your ass, especially in this world. Another thing that the church isn't going to save you from anything. They don't really help people besides give them counseling and tell them the shit that they're sinning on. Then they're going to judge you if you're divorced. Perfect example is I was working for a church, got divorced and was let go because of the divorce. I didn't do anything wrong, but I couldn't keep my marriage together. So how can I work for the ministry if I can't keep my marriage together? Little did they know that she had cheated with about 4 or 5 dudes, and that was why I didn't exactly file, she did. So, as far as keeping a marriage together, I believe in the Bible, it does state that if the spouse cheats, God allows you and grants you permission to get a divorce. Unfortunately, most Christian churches these days do not believe that, so you can't work there. As far as speaking, Adam, I love it. I love the energy and the power. I just don't personally believe I have to go to be a good person. So, I mean, don't take offense that I don't like going to church because of that reason. You know, I'll go to church here or there, and as soon as I'm judged or something just kind of rubs me the wrong way, I'm out. I find a new church. You know, and I bounce from here to there. I'm not into the big mega churches or the fancy ones. I want that down-home southern church, nice, quiet, hymnals, real chill and mellow. That's just me. I don't want to jump up and down and yell and scream and sing at the top of my lungs and hold hands and hug and kiss and shit. Just let me pray in the back and have my moment with my Lord and leave me be. You know, if I want to donate $20, I will. But don't tell me I have to, because you're just gonna get a penny, and I'll do that just to piss you off. Well, that's it for the book and my rant on religion and how I get shunned. But in all reality and in all realness here, find the relationship with God that makes you happy, because that's all God says that He wants from us, is to have us be happy. So do you. You know, look for the signs. Look for God to speak to you. Look for the people He brings in your life. Look at the style of commercials that come on. Or if you're thinking about moving, does the state Nevada pop up more than usual? Then maybe look into Nevada. Walk by faith. You know, I think that's going to be like my new motto. Just walk by faith. Because I've been purely walking on faith for the last year. And just letting things happen. And going with what people I meet and what they like to do. I'll get interest in it. And, you know, I really care about what people are involved in. And that right there has brought me closer to God, because that's what He wants me to do. And I'm pretty sure that He also wants me to end this podcast, because we are about to hit an hour and I'm done wasting your time. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I am nice and toasted at the moment, so I believe since it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I will wrap this up and go to bed. Again, thank you all very much, and we'll see you next episode. We will get into more of the book. We'll have a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about next week, because we'll have a book signing under our belt and a few more good things happening. So, we will see you next time.